Okay, everyone, welcome back to Down the Line. This is week 4 of baseball. We are back here. We are discussing a big week. A lot of things, whether it's the actual play in the field or we got some drama, the real housewives of the NL West, if you want to call it that. But first, I'm not even going to say like, comment, subscribe, all that bullshit. I didn't say it. But I do want to go into Nick. I'm taking a power ranking pledge this week. And I'm taking it. I think I'm going to do it until June 15th is my cutoff date. A power ranking pledge where I will not be looking at the power rankings in MLB. I think until June 15th. I think I'm strong enough to withhold myself from doing that. It's almost like my own personal keto diet because I trusted the power rankings way too much last week. The Reds were 4 in MLB's power rankings. They are last in the NL Central this week. So until we get, I think, 40 to 50 games under the belt, below the belt, until we get at least 40 or 50 games under the belt, I'm doing a power ranking pledge before I drive myself crazy and see where teams move up and down every single week.
Yeah, no, I'm actually totally with that. I actually didn't even see the power rankings today, but yeah, they have been horrible. I remember last week we were talking about it. It was like the Red Sox jumped 17 spots in 1 week. The Yankees were still 11, even though they were playing like the worst team in baseball. So it just doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like when we got back from Hoboken on Saturday night, I slammed like half of a chocolate cake from Trader Joe's. And I can't be doing that. The summer's too close. We're 5 weeks away. So just like no more late night carbs until Memorial Day weekend. No more power rankings until halfway through June. I like that.
It's toxic. It's toxic to the brain. It's like toxins in the body. It's just like carbs and calories and all that stuff. I can't do it mentally. I can't see the Reds going from 4 to 16, back to 7, back to 11. I can't do it. I'm power ranking pledge down the line below the most sports. Lock it in. We'll get into the actual games, but I think the biggest story out of this week of baseball was this Trevor Bauer, Fernando Tatis Jr. Drama, if you even want to call it that. I thought it was great, but it started on Saturday with Fernando Tatis taking Trevor Bauer deep twice. Apparently, he covered his eye on the first one, but no one saw it. So he did it again on the second one, on his second home run of the game, and he covered his eye. Bauer actually had a great clip after the game where he said he liked it. And Nick, it was like one of those moments where you're like, the worst person just made a great point.
It's literally that meme. Yes.
It was, I was like, damn it. Like he's like, I kind of respect, like, that's a solid take. That's a solid take. That he was kind of all in on Tatis essentially showing him up in a way that, Bauer had done that in spring training where he covered hit, or he closed his eye. He closed his eye. He was doing like this thing. For God knows what reason.
To go viral on the internet, realistically. He's not a stupid guy. There's no way he actually thinks that helps him become a better pitcher.
I was trying to think about that, like as a former pitcher, and like what I can't physically comprehend. Like all it does is just like ruin your depth perception. And
I was gonna say, wouldn't it just throw off your depth perception completely?
Yeah, I mean, and if you watched that one of those spring training games where he did that, he threw like it was a fastball or a curveball that just like missed his zone by like 50 feet. Like it wasn't even close. Like obviously, like there's never a situation where like Trevor Bauer, you're not gonna be wearing an eye patch like during a game. Like that's never gonna happen.
What if, though, to be fair, what if he took out his eye with another drone incident in the middle of the World Series? And I'm just saying, to play devil's advocate, there is a possibility where Trevor Bauer does have to pitch with one eye. I'm not going to rule that
out. Okay. All right. Fine. I'll give it to Trevor Bauer in the 1%, negative, no, 0.000001. How much I own of Bitcoin percentage of him pitching with one eye. Regardless, it was a great clip. I actually like that Trevor Bauer made a really awesome point. That it's better off letting someone celebrate on you than throwing at the guy. So I really like the point that Bauer made. Nick, did you agree with what he said?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Trevor Bauer, there's plenty of reasons why you and I both don't like him, but at the end of the day, he is a pretty good proponent of being able to take it while he dishes it out. So I did like that. The better question I have for you is, what did you make of the whole Tatis peeking at the signs thing? Because this, to be honest, wasn't even something I really realized that people did. I saw a lot of strong take both ways about it. What did you think?
So I didn't watch John Boy's video because I felt like it was gonna kind of like cloud my judgment a little bit too much. But I thought he looked way too quickly. When you're when you're in the pros, they don't put down. I mean, it's very rare that they put down one sign, because they know. I mean, the Astros scandal, for example. People are taking signs left and right. There's ways to figure it out. You have to adjust how you do signs. It's not even just with a runner on second base, where it's like what it typically is. It's like all right. Second sign is the pitch. So it'll be like 2, 1, 2, 4, wiggle for changeup, like things like that. And you'll look for the second one, or you'll look for how many times the catcher taps his shoulder. So if the catcher goes like 1, 2, and then puts the signs down, or if he goes like 1, 2, 3, and it's like last tap or whatever it is, it's like that's a third sign, or it's a second sign. Like that's how they communicate. Fernando Tatis going like this for a split second, like maybe, I don't know, he looked down for maybe a total of 1 second. It's going to be really, 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 really tough for him to actually pick up and figure out that Trevor Bauer was throwing a slider outside. Maybe did he see the catcher kind of, like, hey, I'm going outside, like I'm like kind of shift his body one way? Maybe, but that doesn't give him the ability to hit a ball 400 feet to center field on a slider that's a foot outside. That I'm just going to tip my cap to Tatis Jr. being an incredible player. So I don't think that he peaked on purpose. Was he looking down? Maybe, but I don't think that he actually had enough time to pick up a sign, nor would he likely know Trevor Bauer signs.
Right. And I think the whole Astros thing has kind of broken people's brains when it comes to cheating in baseball, where even cases of gamesmanship now, you kind of get a reaction out of people because you hear sign stealing and you think it's all under one umbrella, and it's not. What the Astros did, and obviously as a Yankee fan, no one's more upset about this stuff than me, and even I'm less upset about it than I was a year and a half, 2 years ago, just because so much time has passed. But they had cameras in place, a team like figuring out what the signs were, relaying them to players. It's a totally different system than sneaking a peek, or a guy on second base relaying the signs. Like, that's all gamesmanship. That stuff has been going on forever. So I think people are too quick to lump it in with just what the Astros did, which I think is really stupid. So I saw a lot of people getting offended. This wasn't some random AAA player coming up and hitting home runs. This is Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the best players in baseball. He hit 5 home runs
on a hot streak. Yeah.
Like, it just is what it is. If you are really going to attribute him peeking at the sign for a split second, which, like you said, I don't think you could pick up anything besides maybe the location to why he's hitting home runs, then you're just being naive.
Yeah, and Tatis is a relatively free swinger anyway, so it's not like it's absurd that he was swinging at a slider that kind of fell that much out of the zone. And as much as we hate it, Trevor Bauer is a good pitcher. He throws good pitches. He could have just fooled him. Tatis put a good swing on it. It was a little absurd that he took it out of the park, but I mean, good hitter on an incredible hot streak. What I was very happy to see was the Twitter exchange after was Bauer saying like, oh, like if you needed to look next time, like daddy will tell you or something like that. He said that to Tatis. And then Tatis commented like tranquillo hio and said with a Photoshop of him as his father with Trevor Bauer photoshopped on a kid. And I was like, baseball is back. Baseball is absolutely back. Trevor Bauer is an incredible baseball villain. Nick, do you agree with me that like he's the best villain baseball can be? Because he's a proponent for baseball being better, but people hate him. So him being like on board with baseball growing while being the guy that he's like kind of okay with being hated. Great villain.
This is the kind of stuff that made me like Trevor Bauer before, honestly, the offseason. Like when he's in these kind of verbal spats with players or rival team, Bauer, one of the better pitchers in the league on the Dodgers, Tatis, one of the better hitters in the league on the Padres. Like, it's this kind of stuff that makes Trevor Bauer good for baseball. So if we can get more of this and less of the trolling Mets fans, whining about things. Like Trevor Bauer can't play the victim. You just said it perfectly. He's got to be the villain. When he's the villain, he's entertaining. So hopefully, I do want to hope to talk about Trevor Bauer a lot this year, but in this context.
Yeah. And it's nice to have a villain that's a player and not just like, we're going to do another what the fuck Rob Manfred in a little bit. But like, it's nice to have a villain that's not like the commissioner. Because what can you do about the commissioner? Nothing. Can you yell at a player on Twitter? Yeah, you can do that. Next time you go to the ballpark, you can be like, Trevor Bauer, you're the worst. Tip your cap to being the most annoying player in baseball. That's awesome. That's good for the game.
Exactly.
But we did get an incredible series again out of the Dodgers Padres. Everyone was thinking that Sunday night game was going to revolve around that Twitter exchange. Nothing really came up from it, but it still was an awesome game. Dodgers went up 7-1 after that left-handed pitcher from the Padres, Ramirez, just came in and got absolutely shelled. Like I think it was 4 pitches in a row, just got absolutely like spanked, like hard line drives, home runs, gappers, just like a really poor performance on that man's part. But it went to Dodgers, go up 7-1. Padres make a 3 or 4 inning comeback. They kind of brought it all together, made their way back by the 9th inning. And then we went into extras, and then shit hit the fan. I mean, having a pitcher having to come up in extra innings with a runner on second base, I don't think there was a single person, baseball purists, baseball progressives, people who don't even like baseball, people who like baseball, there was not a single person happy with that scenario taking place. That a pitcher where there should be a universal DH having to come up with a runner on second base, when there shouldn't be a runner on second base in extra innings. I think that was worst possible case scenario, and one of the most exciting games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that was a great game. You talk about the 2 best teams in baseball. The Padres battling back from 6 runs down with 3 innings left, scoring 2 in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. David Price getting lit up a little bit on Sunday Night Baseball, which is a tale as old as time. That warmed my heart to see. It's crazy that he's in the bullpen for the Dodgers, but it's also kind of crazy that, like, in my brain, I was like, he'll be a weapon for them. Like, no, he actually just stinks at baseball now. He really has for a couple years. But that extra innings was everything on display that is wrong with baseball right now. The runner on second is so stupid. I hate when people are like, it puts so much strategy in. It takes the strategy completely out. Every guy's going up there, especially in the National League game, they're looking to bunt or hit a weak ground ball. What happened to the entire process of getting a guy on base, getting him in scoring position? When you're just handing the guy in scoring position, what's the strategy? Especially if you're the home team and you hold the away team in the top half and you know that just that run from second is all you need. It's so stupid to me. And then to not have a DH, the Padres were a little shorthanded because they had an injury to Pham early on in the game, so they were using pitchers all throughout the game.
That might have happened anyway in an extra inning game. Yeah.
Exactly. It happened, and it happens regardless. But you're pinch hitting pitchers like Clayton Kershaw comes up, and I was so glad that he didn't get the walk-off hit there, because as interesting as it would be to see that kind of novelty, that people would just tweet the video of Clayton Kershaw on his 392 OPS with a walk-off hit in extra innings on Sunday Night Baseball nonstop. It would be the next Bartolo Colon homer, like a Jacob deGrom RBI single. We don't need to give the anti-DH people any more fuel for their stupid argument. So it was a great game. It was, but I think it's so baseball where how many times now, the same thing a couple weeks ago with Braves Phillies, where that blown call in the ninth. Baseball always manages to have a great game on Sunday Night Baseball and then just shoot themselves in the foot with how it ends. And I think that was the case again last night.
Yeah, it's so frustrating to see, because it could have ended with, maybe Tatis getting, he wound up striking out, but like it could have ended when in such like a cooler scenario. It could have been a little more interesting, but like when pitchers come up in extra innings, like it's almost like this is a bit of a joke, don't you think? Like, yes, there's injuries. Sometimes that happens in baseball, but it's kind of like you said, it's a novelty. It happens in those extra inning games, and it's like, oh my God, that was so cool. A pitcher came up to hit. Like, no, they had to do that because there is no universal DH. They did have to bunt because there is a runner on second base. They wound up not bunting, but like it most likely would have been the right play to do. But it's so frustrating just to see them like almost like force their hands of the managers, and that, like you said, it takes a strategy out of it. There's no creativity. You have to do, and you essentially just have to score. Yeah, it makes the game go a little bit quicker at the end, but it's not worth sacrificing essentially baseball fans were mad. Like I said, baseball purists, baseball progressives, non-baseball fans, baseball fans. Everyone was like upset with just like, what are we doing here? Like this was a great game, great series, the two best teams in baseball, and we're running it like a amateur college game.
Mm-hmm. And it just like makes you feel so dirty too, especially like I know last year the Yankees had one. I think it was against the Orioles at home where Chad Green held them scoreless in the top half, and the bottom half was like ground ball to move the guy to third, and then Luke Voigt hit a walk-off sac fly. It's just so not satisfying. Like you sit there and watch a 3.5, 4 hour baseball game, it's tied going into extra innings, and it just ends on such an anticlimactic note. I hate that. And I know the big beef and the reason that a lot of the managers and players like it. I don't know if you saw Alex Cora said he would start the 10th inning with the runner on second, first and second in the 11th, and base loaded in the 12th. These guys obviously aren't in support of the rule because A, they probably want to go the fuck home, and B, it burns out their bullpens. The part about going home, I don't know what to tell them. I don't understand what's the problem with an extra hour of baseball. You're getting paid millions of dollars. You're not going to get any sympathy from me as far as going home. The point about burning out the bullpens, I do understand. When you get into the 15th, 16th inning, it's not a great brand of baseball. Let guys travel with the taxi squad or make a rule where you can bring up an extra 2 to 3 pitches day after an extra inning game without penalizing someone and having to send someone down. Instead of the roster being at 26, you can, have it at 26 on normal games and 30 on days after extra innings or the 2 days after extra innings. I don't know. I'm all for giving them that flexibility, but not at the expense of just ruining the ending of what's probably a great baseball
game. Yeah, I agree. And the bullpen take is the only thing that I support about the runner on second rule. It's like, okay, you're right. It's a long season, but it's not like we haven't been doing it for 100 years. Baseball has been around for a long time. Guys have figured it out. These are the best athletes. They're in the best shape than you've ever seen, a baseball player. I'm sure they can figure out how to throw an extra inning or two here and there, run an extra sprint tomorrow, you'll be fine. Burn the lactic acid, get it going. Like you'll be fine.
I think it might've been Evan Roberts who said this too. A big problem about guys burning out their bullpens too is just how specialized every guy's role has been. Like if you only have a 1-run lead, a 2-run lead, it's a tie game, and there's the threat of going to extra innings, maybe don't pull your starting pitcher after 5, or maybe don't go to a different reliever every single inning. Like if you run out of relievers by the 10th or 11th inning, I don't really have any sympathy for you. Like sometimes that's just how it's going to be. And like I said, I'm all for expanding the rosters if you do burn out your bullpen a day, but at the same time, don't act like you have a 5 or 6 run lead and can burn all your relievers for an inning. If there is the possibility, you're going to need them in extras.
Yeah. And the whole a pitcher needs a clean inning to start, to go into it. I get that's how you get the best performance, but like these guys got to grow up a little bit, learn to pitch with a little adversity, but whatever. We will get into now everyone's favorite segment, our what the fuck Rob Manfred of the week. And it is also paired with our year of the pitcher because we have another sort of no-hitter / not a no-hitter. No one knows what to call it because of Rob Manfred. It was Madison Bumgarner. Maybe he's back. Maybe Yankees trade deadline. I don't know. Maybe it's 2018 again. I want him back. But maybe he's doing good. 7-inning no hitter. Nick, do you think this was real? Do you quantify this as a no hitter in your book?
No, I won't. I mean, we just saw Jay Happ on Friday throw 7 no-hit innings. If this was Jay Happ who threw a 7-inning no-hitter, I would have a fucking stroke. I had a stroke anyway, just seeing that he had thrown 7 1/3 no-hit innings. But what pains me here is the fact that Bumgarner didn't even get a chance to try and complete it. Yeah, I know he had 98 pitches, so it was probably unlikely. And if there's anyone who doesn't need another line on their MLB pitching resume, it's Madison Bumgarner. I doubt he could really care less whether or not he does get a no-hitter. The guy is one of the greatest postseason pitchers of all time. But imagine it was some rookie. Imagine it's Armando Galarraga and it's his one chance at it, and he doesn't get to pitch the last 2 innings because it's a 7-inning game. It's just bullshit. And the fact that MLB isn't recognizing the no-hitters, but is recognizing 7-inning games that with one hit as one-hitters, it shows that even they're acknowledging that these games are fugazi. And look, I was cool with it last year. I was, because I was like, you know what, 60-game season, this runner on second rule, the 7-inning rule, whatever, I'll take it. But what makes me nervous now is that we kept it in a year of 162, and yet COVID is still around. These teams are getting vaccinated. You can't try and play it off as COVID anymore when we're playing what's essentially a normal season. These are just rules they want to implement. They want the runner on second and extras. They want the 7-inning doubleheaders. And eventually they're going to want 7-inning games. CC Sabathia said that on ESPN the other day. He would go to 7-inning games, which is fucking horrible. Like, I love CC. He was a great Yankee, one of my favorites for a decade, but he is one of the voices from inside baseball that is just anti-baseball. Like, this isn't what the fan wants to hear. And CC is saying that because he's already made all of his money. It's going to hurt the pockets ultimately of a lot of the players. I don't think it's going to do anything for the popularity of the game. We say this all the time. No one's going to sit down and watch a 2-hour and 45-minute baseball game if they think a 3-hour and 10-minute baseball game or 3.5-hour baseball game is too long. You can do things to make the game flow better, but just chopping time off the end of the game, that's not going to attract anybody. So it just really pisses me off. It sucks for Bumgarner. It sucks for baseball fans. It's just another time that baseball is in the news for a shitty debate where you can just kind of point and laugh at baseball, where it should be something that's like, wow, do you see Bumgarner's no-hitter? Do you see it get broken up in the 9th inning? They just constantly are shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and that's the point that I really want to make about this, is the fact that MLB is saying 7-inning games are legit, and then someone goes out and throws a 7-inning no-hitter complete game because they called it a complete game. Like that's his stat line, complete game. He gets a 1 in the column for a complete game, but then you're not saying it's a real no-hitter. Like, why, if you're not a baseball fan, you're like, why does baseball not have the shit together? Why does baseball have to be so confusing on, like, it's not like football where it's like, oh, is this a catch? Is it not a catch? Like, we're really having the conversation right now is this a game or is it not a game? Like, that is a horrible discussion to be having for what could have been really cool. Madison Bumgarner could have gone. I mean, he's one of the few people, I think he's probably a little burned out, but he's someone that can go into like that 120, 130 pitch range. Like, if he wanted to really extend himself out into like those other like potential 8th and 9th innings when he was already at 98 pitches, like he probably could have, if he was able to get 15 pitches an inning for a no-hitter, he probably could have done it. So like, I don't want to discount and say there was no chance of him getting it even with 98 pitches. He's probably one of the few guys that could go that length. But like the fact that like we're having the discussion right now of is this game like legit or not legit is like just ridiculous and confusing for baseball fans and for non-baseball fans. It's just not good for the game, and it's perfect for what the fuck, Rob Manfred. What are you doing with the game?
Literally, what the fuck? And the worst part is he doesn't care, and he'll hear these concerns. I'm sure he has, and he doesn't care because he thinks for some reason it's going to help his bottom line, which it won't.
Yeah. So we'll move on to a little bit more about the games, hitting the local market a little bit. The Yankees finally won 3 out of 4 in Cleveland. It was nice to see them win a game and not have it be just like at the expense of another team being terrible. They actually put some good hits together, good enough pitching throughout the weekend. Obviously, Cole was a stud, but outside of him, the pitching was good enough, obviously to get our wins. It was good to go back to picking on individual players as opposed to wondering and pondering the existence of the entire team. We can go back to wondering if Gary's good, when our first baseman's coming back, what Glaber's going to do, things like that. It's nice to focus now on people that we can be like, okay, you suck, as opposed to the team. So yeah, breath of fresh air for Yankee fans.
One of my bosses at Bronx Pinstripes, Andrew Rotondi, had responded to one of my tweets yesterday saying, compared to this time last week, this Yankees team is the love child of the 98 and 1927 Yankees. So it is nice. Listen, it was a 4-2 week. Was it perfect? No, especially not the Atlanta series. On Sunday, it was not great. And then they're losing actually 4-1 to the Orioles right now at the time of taping this. So Yankees are far from out of the woods. That being said, the Cleveland series is easily the best brand of baseball they played for an entire series. Getting 3 out of 4, which you would have signed for no matter what going into Thursday. Coming back from 3-0 deficits on Thursday and Friday was encouraging because this team, it felt like they were just dead once they would go down a run. So coming back from the 3-0 deficits was huge. Garrett Cole was Garrett Cole. You got 6 innings from Herman. Montgomery settled down. It should have given you 5. Glaber makes a play there. and they hit the home run ball again. So listen, is it perfect? No. I think people were having this debate on Twitter, like, are the Yankees back or not, which is utterly stupid. Like, they've had a good weekend of baseball. They also are not playing to their potential. Both things can be true. But it was nice to exhale a little bit, at least from the time we were recording this last week to now. I feel a lot better.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have to wonder if this team is going to make the playoffs anymore. I feel like we saw a minuscule portion of like what this team could be. But Nick, I know the point of the season and like individual series is to win the series, and that's how you come out with a winning record. But punting games like all the time with the Yankees, that frustrates me to no end. You're not like, you had a bad stretch. You need to work on coming back. When you have a bad stretch like that, you don't have the luxury of punting the fourth game of a series. You go for the sweep. And I think that's obviously coming from the front office, but Aaron Boone is a specialist at punting. He is John Ryan. He is Pat McAfee. He is the best punter in baseball. And it is very frustrating how good he is at it. And just being like, okay, yeah, Nick Nelson. Yeah, sure. We don't need this win. We already won 3 out of 4. Like, come on, dude. Like, you're 9-13. Like, this can't happen. Like, you're not. What's your take? I'm gonna get frustrated.
And look, I know, I completely agree with you. And I think what really bothered me, that was a perfect spot for Sessa, right? It's the 5th inning. You need a little bit of length. Sessa has been serviceable this year. I'm not saying go to Chad Green and act like it's a game you need to lock down, like you need it. Like, yes, they did win the last 3 games. They are in the middle of a 13 games and 13-day stretch. So I do get it. I going to Nelson there, not ideal, but they knew they were going to option for Davey. So I'm okay with them going to for the 5th inning. But once he gives up the run in the 5th to make it a 2-run game, and you go back to him for the 6th, that's unacceptable, because that is a punt.
That's the punt.
You're down 2 runs there to the Indians. You know, the team has been swinging a better bat. You're talking about one swing of the bat, you could take the lead right back. It was mind-boggling to me to send Nelson back out there, and I think that sends a pretty terrible message to your team. Like, listen, we got to get this guy for one more inning. Like, you're not that starved. You got 7 innings from Garrett Cole the night before. You got 6 from Herman on Thursday. This bullpen has been in a lot worse shape at different points this season than they were on Sunday for Aaron Boone to punt that game. And then the worst part is he goes out and uses Sessa for 2 anyway in garbage time, where he could have just thrown those 2 scoreless in the 5th and 6th, and we could have had a ball game. So it's very frustrating. And you're right. Like, it did suck to put a damper on the series where, yes, I would have signed for 3 out of 4, but they had a good chance to win that Sunday game. And sure, they do win that series, but those punt games are gonna add up. They really are.
And yes, it's the punt games. It's the fact that you want to sweep. And I think that winning streaks are sometimes one of the most important things. Over the course of an entire season. Like, the A's just went on a 13-game winning streak, ironically snapped by the Orioles. But like, when you get those streaks out of a season, it makes the team believe in their ability to go on a run. Like, I mean, Moneyball, they made a movie about a 20-game win streak. They made a really Oscar-winning movie about a 20-game winning streak. Like, there's no reason to just punt games because you won the series. Go on a run. Go on a long run, and you have the opportunity. I mean, it looks like they're going to lose to the Orioles right now. It's not looking great. But like, you had an opportunity to sweep the Indians and now go into Camden Yards and, maybe sweep the Orioles. That's 7 games that, you're going to go on a winning streak potentially. And that carries over for the rest of the season. Next time they go on a down streak, they'll be like, hey, we can rattle off 7 straight. Now that in their head, they're thinking we can probably rattle off 3. It's just like a mindset. It punting like that just ruins your momentum into the rest of the series. And it just never made sense to me that singular games, even though it's in the scope of a series, don't matter to managers. And specifically, it feels like the Yankees, because I don't know many other teams that punt as much as they do.
And look, this slow start, I would think it would knock some sense into them that they can't treat this season like the NBA season, where you're just kind of resting your stars and getting to the playoffs. Look, I do fully expect this Yankee team to be in the playoffs, but it's April 26th. You can't take it as a given, especially now with how they've started. So it's things like going back to Nelson for a 2nd inning there in a 2-run game. It's like sitting DJ and Stanton that last game in Dunedin when they were playing the Blue Jays in the rubber game on a Thursday, the day before an off day. It's those little things where you're not asking anything crazy from these guys. I'm not asking you to throw Chad Green 3 days in a row or Chapman 3 days in a row or send Cole back out with 111 pitches. I'm not asking you for any of that, but it's the little things where when there's a winnable game, you could at least make the minimal effort required to try and win it. Because sometimes you are going to win it. And like you said, it'll set you on a nice win streak. And I remember the 2018 Yankees, back when they looked like they could actually compete with the Red Sox. I think they went like 18-3 in a 21-game stretch against like the Red Sox, the Astros, the A's, like good teams. That was huge for that team. And this team, it's just like, no matter how good they might end up being, it's not going to happen because there will be a punt game in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's frustrating to no end, and it just feels like it just kills momentum for the rest of the season. I mean, who knows if they win that game? If they, let's say they win game 4, maybe they're beating the Orioles right now. They're down 4-1 going into the 8th. You know, maybe they have the momentum, the confidence to keep. Hey, let's get a 5th. Let's get a 5th win. Now it's just like, okay, now we got to start this winning streak over because you were just like, you know. We already won the series. It's okay. You know, so it's very frustrating. I really hope that they wake up and try to stop doing that. But again, I don't see that happening. Move over to the other New York team. They are starting to decline a little bit offensively, but the Mets still find themselves in first place. They're one above the Phillies right now. And the story of their weekend was Jacob deGrom. I mean, the story of pretty much every weekend seems to be Jacob deGrom throwing an absolute gem, but he threw a complete game, 15 strikeouts, year of the pitcher, Nick. I love saying it every time that someone throws a good game, but Jacob deGrom is the front runner, you know, for obviously Cy Young again. He's on pace for one of the more legendary seasons we've ever seen from a pitcher.
He's unbelievable. He's the best pitcher in baseball right now. He's the best athlete in New York right now. I don't think either one of those is a particularly close debate. I had a tweet on Saturday morning after deGrom's performance. I had said I love Garrett Cole more than I love family members, but he's the second best pitcher in New York, second best pitcher in baseball. No one should be ashamed of that. As we saw, he outdueled Shane Bieber on Saturday, which was great. I got a variety of responses from, I think most Yankee fans agree with me. A lot of Met fans, agreed, obviously, and praised Cole. I got some people saying Cole is like a bottom, like back end of the top 10 level pitcher. I got Yankee fans trying to argue about Cole, and deGrom. It's just let it be what it is right now. It's Jacob deGrom 1, Garrett Cole 2. That's undoubtable. And Rob, I don't know if you agree with me. I see a lot of parallels between the Yankees and the Mets right now. I mean, that deGrom is going to bring it every 5th day. Cole is going to bring it every 5th day. Their lineup is hot and cold. They have guys who are home run hitters who haven't been hitting as many home runs as they usually would. They have some defensive liabilities that have either cost them games or put them in tricky situations. I really think the only difference right now between the Yankees and the Mets is that the Mets have gotten a little bit more from Marcus Stroman and Taijuan Walker than the Yankees have from really any of their starting pitchers. I would say probably Montgomery has been on par with Walker so far, but there's been no number 2 to step up and establish themselves the way Stroman has so far with the Mets, even though he did get knocked around on Saturday.
No, and that's what I was saying last week is that when you look at them statistically, outside of like that number 2 starter, they're very similar. I mean, outside of Stroman as a number 2, and I think Nimmo as like their sort of average leader. I think Nimmo's batting like 370 right now. 360.
Has had a hot start. Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a really hot start. I mean, people were downing him as a center fielder, so I mean, kudos to him for coming out really hot. But there are a lot of parallels. Like it's an underperforming lineup, and outside of their 1 and for the Mets their 2. It really hasn't been anything like stellar. I think another main difference is that the Mets rotation is dealing with more injuries than the Yankees. I mean, in terms of injuries for the Yankees, it's Severino, but you really weren't expecting him at the beginning of the season, and Britton. Outside of that, I mean, the Mets are dealing with Syndergaard, but they were also expecting Carrasco to be in this rotation. So I think that's kind of a little bit of a difference. They were expecting to kind of have that strong 1, 2, 3 with a great 4 coming back and then, figure out the 5th, and Walker would have been a great 5th right now. But no, like those lineups are really paralleling right now for the most part. That's the fact that a really talented team overall, just not really clicking yet offensively. But I mean, just like the Yankees, I'd be shocked if the Mets didn't figure it out. Lindor's starting to swing a better bat. Alonso's starting to show his power game. He's got 5 home runs. I think McNeil is doing a little bit better, but I mean, he got benched the other day, so I wouldn't be shocked if it takes him a little bit longer. But in the same way that like McNeil is supposed to be there, LeMahieu, it's just not clicking yet. And it's April. That's why we made our power ranking pledge. It's okay. We're not going to look at it too much, but it is, it is a little frustrating to not see everything clicking right out of the gate.
It is, and it is. I'm glad the Yankees won 3 out of 4 this weekend. So at least, even if things haven't been going well yesterday or today, you can kind of say this argument and it doesn't fall. What is the saying? Fall on deaf ears, I think. Is that what it is?
Deaf ears, I thought.
I'm pretty sure it's whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? It's the back of these guys' baseball cards are too good. Like, do I think that Alonso, McNeil, Conforto, and Lindor are going to simultaneously have down years the same way that I think, Gleyber Torres, Aaron Hicks, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton are going to simultaneously have down years? No. Like, some, if not all of these guys are going to figure it out over time. It's the same way you look at the Houston Astros struggling right now, the Atlanta Braves struggling, the Twins struggling, teams that are going to hit the ball that just haven't really up to this point in the season. So it is annoying, but at this point in time, we do need to take a little bit of a step back and say, like, all right, just because it hasn't fully clicked yet doesn't mean it's not going to.
Yeah, and good for the Mets. I mean, you haven't clicked yet and you're still in first place, which Absolutely. I feel like that's not how the Mets have done things in the past. So it is maybe the mark of a new era for them, as in this new Steve Cohen, is that even when you're playing bad, typically in April and May, that puts you, it's like that famous Family Guy clip, and it's like the first pitch and the season's over. Like, that's typically how it's been for the Mets. And this year, you're still not a hot start, but it's okay. You're still in first place. You'll figure it out. You're a lot of room for improvement, and you're already in first place. So
I haven't seen anything in the first 3 weeks of the season to make me think it won't still be the Mets battling the Braves for the NL East. I absolutely think that's still going to be the case.
I agree. The only thing that I've seen is Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola look really good in Philadelphia. So, I mean, if they can keep up this pace, I think Nola will. I mean, Wheeler had a good year last year. I'd be shocked if he didn't keep it up. But I mean, if they can kind of find like a third and fourth option with consistency, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Phillies making it a little more competitive than I originally expected them to, because this is actually a great transition. Are not safe for work. Bryce Harper looks unreal this season. He looks like the Bryce Harper that everyone kind of expect him to be, like his MVP. Remember when he was 21 years old and won an MVP, for God's sakes? He looks like kind of like that player again. I mean, so my not safe for work is Bryce Harper hitting a 468-foot home run. And the reason why it's not safe for work is the outfielders didn't move. That is not a safe mentally environment for the pitcher. You got outfielders. I don't care how far the ball goes over the fence. Just give it a jog. Give it a look. Just get close to the fence. Make them think they had a chance of catching it. Make the pitcher feel like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't that far over. I still got my stuff today. If you just turn around and watch it fly, that is embarrassing, and it's not safe for work. It's not safe.
How demoralizing is it as a pitcher? Like, you ever get mad at your outfielders? Like, you ever give up a no doubter and you see the guy not even make a move back on it, or are you just pissing yourself in that moment?
In the moment, I'm mad at myself for obviously giving up like an absolute like shot. But in when you look back here, like it's not their fault. That they're just frustrated that now the team is losing or closer to losing or losing by more, whatever the situation is. That they're just frustrated, but it's just like, give me like something, what I mean? Like even like a little, like one of these, like with the little shoulders, just like, you don't have to move that much. Just give me like a light, like you're running towards like someone holding the open door for you. Just like a little, one of those, just like make me feel like it was somewhere. It was somewhere in the vicinity of catchable.
Right.
Yeah.
So my not safe for work, going back to this Dodgers-Padres series. So it did have everything. You're talking showboating, some nasty pitching matchups, bat flips, home runs, all that usual stuff we'd have on not safe for work. But at the end of the day, I'm still a sucker for some great defensive plays, flashing the leather. And this double play the Padres turned was absolutely disgusting. A nice glove flip, too. You really can't beat that. So that series really did have everything. They're easily the two most exciting teams in baseball right now, and it had everything right down to the defense.
Yeah, there's nothing better than sexy defense. No. That's what they're all saying now.
Everyone's saying that.
Everyone's saying it. All right, well, that's our show. It is the year of the pitcher still. We are still doing our, this is actually Rampo Baseball, but look at Nick's shirt, year of the pitcher. If anyone wants one, shoot me a DM. I'll make it for you. Or don't, I'll definitely make it for you, but it's about $30. So, is what it is.
Yeah. I don't know what they expect from us. It just is what it is.
It is maybe that's our next shirt. BTB. It is what it is.
I think that might be the next shirt.
All right. If you want that shirt, let me know. DM us for that one. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Go Yankees. Nick, anything else?
No, nothing else. Hopefully the Yankees figure it out in Baltimore, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. See you guys.
Later, skaters.